relations?
Under potential,
Under
below
potential?
potential.
Is it only with reference to trade? Is it also below potential in terms of people to people contact? We have a lot of Indians who go as
Yes, yeah,
tourists to
that's
Thailand, but
fine.
a much smaller number traveling to India from Thailand.
Okay,
So, where is the potential and
okay.
how can it be?
Number one, we're doing very well on cultural ties, going to the past,
Yes.
from thousands of years ago. If Indian tourists going to Thailand will say everything is so familiar. Suvarnabhumi Airport, Suvarnabhumi, right? Asok Road, Asoka, King of Thailand, Rama, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, the Sanskrit roots, Prime Minister, Pradhan Mantri, for us it's Prime Minister is Nayok Ratmantri, Chief Mantri, those things. But sometimes these connections have been lost. So we do have deep cultural roots and ties. That's number one. So that's a solid basis. But I think that in terms of, and when you talk to Indians, they'll say, oh, I love your country, friendly people, good food, Tom Yam Goong, Pad Thai, Bangkok, Pattaya, Phuket, Chiang Mai. And then I say, okay, what about trade and investment? Oh, yes, trade and investment, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and so on.
Singapore, yeah.
And then we have all of that. So that's what I have to fill up, more. The trade and investment. And as we were saying, 10 billion between India and Thailand. Between Thailand and Cambodia, it's approaching the level of trade that we have between India and Thailand. So, we are below potential. Of course, some people can choose to say that, oh, we have a surplus every year, but of what, if you're saying I'm giving you 5 rupees and you're happy, because you have 5 rupees from me, but I'm giving somebody else 500 rupees, So that's one. So that's how it's below potential. In terms of the political relationship, I think it's friendly, but I think in this age of ICT, things are moving too fast, and we don't allow ourselves a decent amount of time to sit down and talk. So, for instance, the upcoming 33rd ASEAN Summit, we will have ASEAN India informal working breakfast, 45 minutes. Each person probably speaks for less than 5 minutes. Okay? So
you really don't get to discuss much in depth.
sometimes for me, I'd like us to take the time. Number two, and in that context, the Thai Prime Minister, India has approached Thailand for a bilateral, half an hour.
Okay.
Half an hour is better than 5 minutes. But of course, the scheduling conflict, because the time proposed by India is exactly at the time of the ASEAN US Summit. Okay? So, Thai counter proposal is during the 45 minutes breakfast between ASEAN and India. India on one side is Prime Minister Modi alone, right? Let's have a pull-aside meeting, meaning while we're sitting here, we just step, to the side for 5 minutes. Okay, so are we going to solve the trilateral highway during that?
No,
Are we going to resolve RCEP during that?
nothing really.
Are we going to, have final outcome on Gra Canal? No. Okay, so things that are pending are like the foreign ministers' consultations, it's a joint coordinating committee, waiting for scheduling. Another one is foreign office consultations between foreign secretary and outside permanent secretary. That's awaiting scheduling. But anyway, we live in hope, and we're pushing for bilateral visits. So, Prime Minister of Thailand visited in 2016.
So did Prime Minister Modi, but he went for the
Yes, and
after the king passed away.
to be honest, there was a technicality on our side. It was decided that during the funeral, because there would be so many heads of government, heads of states coming, we cannot manage to have bilaterals, So it was the same rule for everyone.
Did India want a bilateral
Yes,
then?
of course. Why wouldn't you? You've already spent the time to fly. So anyway, and then, so Prime Minister Modi owes us a visit, okay? Because Thai Prime Minister came in 2016.
Yes.
You know, first reaction back home is, but we've already been. It's his turn to.
Turn to be
So that's how the
Thailand.
working people. Oh, that's bilateral. This is multilateral. This is an ASEAN event.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing. But anyway, we are waiting to welcome Prime Minister Modi. I'm hoping that it can happen next year because number one, I mean, you know, we are hosting ASEAN. We presume that he will attend the ASEAN summit. And how convenient that, you know, we can have a bilateral, you know, just add on one day. Hopefully we can do that. And I want people to sit down so that I've been trying from the beginning with this RCEP or with the bilateral or with the BIMSTEC FTA. Sit down, let's say you're my counterpart from trade. Okay, how can I take care of your concerns? You know, I mean, sit down properly, not like in a big room and then just posturing.
Yes.
So that's in my opinion, what's missing. But relations are smooth.
Your Prime Minister has said that Thailand looks at the Indo-Pacific construct as being something that is something that is positive and that it is a constructive cooperation.
Yeah.
What exactly did he mean by that, and how does Thailand look at the
Okay.
Indo-Pacific construct?
So now, right now, we're into an ASEAN. At first, it's individual positions, but now ASEAN has spoken, and then we will have an ASEAN response to the whole idea of the Indo-Pacific. And Indonesia will come up with the first draft of Indo-Pacific. Mainly, I can say that in ASEAN, different countries have different views,
Yes.
ranging from what you said about Thailand to countries that say, we shouldn't even be discussing Indo-Pacific because it means that you are discussing something based on other people's terms. So why don't we come up with a concept of our own and then people can discuss our concept. So this is still work in progress. But what I find interesting in recent days and weeks is that there are also people that have said, okay, there's rise of like Asia, and then there's also Russia up top and so on as well. So it's Asia, Indo-Pacific may just be one of the centers, and there may be other centers or other connections. So it might be a little bit, I don't know, naive or to just, if there are 3 or 4 platforms going around, to just have your response to one,
Going to be difficult.
So, while let's say we have this Indo-Pacific all worked out, what about those that are not in this conversation? And then they have their things that are going on as well. So it's kind of like global governance, But, the way we look at Indo-Pacific is of course, ASEAN has been there. So we are one entity. Then we're having to deal with external partners. And we have engagement with external partners, right? Number one, we want to ensure that ASEAN is there. Okay, and it's this region, this Southeast Asia is us. We want to be consulted, we want to live in peace with everyone else. Now, if some of these partners may have some friction between each other, and since we can talk to everyone, can we come up with something that is based on things we've done up to this point in time and can ensure that we, in the middle of all these players, live in peace and prosperity.
Ambassador Gongsadki, one final question.
Yes.
You just mentioned BIMSTEC.
Yes.
Now, the BIMSTEC meet was held in Kathmandu
Yes,
in
yes.
August.
Yes.
and there was Thai participation
Yes.
in the meet.
Yeah.
But Thailand did not participate in the BIMSTEC military exercise.
Yes.
It chose to be an observer.
Yes.
What was the reason for that?
The dollars and cents, because we have budgets and we have to commit ahead of time. So this is not budgeted. That's the reason. And I've had this question before, and your Minister of Defense was informed beforehand. It's not a last minute thing.
Okay.
But I think that the media, unfortunately, they tied us with Nepal and so on and so
Yes.
forth. I think over the months to come, you will find new dimensions of military, naval, and air cooperation between India and Thailand. And I hope you can realize, when it does happen, that this is taking Thailand to a new dimension with India.
Is there more in the offing
Yes.
in the
Yes.
defense?
I mean, India has
sector?
always asked for sort of, instead of being observer in Cobra Gold, to be a participant. We've discussed things like joint patrols in the Malacca Straits, and India has been pushing for joint exercises, naval exercises between Thailand, Singapore, and India. Yeah. So if any of those things happen, and they may, become official, then you will know that that's a big move and a big gain for India. And BIMSTEC, one thing I wanted to say about BIMSTEC is that India keeps saying that Thailand is the second largest partner, but there's a big gap, between Thailand and India. So we are committed to BIMSTEC, but we are a few steps behind, in terms of budget and so on and so forth. And one thing I can say, just to wrap everything up, is including our chairmanship of ASEAN, Thailand has been working throughout the years on the connectivity agenda. So we did that in ASEAN, and then when Indonesia hosted APEC, we multilateralized the ASEAN Master Plan on Connectivity in APEC, and we took it to BIMSTEC, IORA, and so on. Because the thing that's driving us is that to have physical connectivity so that we can have economic connectivity. The other one is the sustainable and inclusive development, because political turmoil comes from divisions in society. When people feel that they don't have the opportunities from economic growth and prosperity, then instability comes, right? So it's also about the environment and so on. So while not everyone may find that sexy, even sometimes I don't find it sexy, so I was thinking, why don't we talk about, I don't know, cyber commerce or something, the next big thing. But it's important for people to do the nitty-gritty as well, because if India becomes richer as a country, but the difference between rich and poor is such that the poorest don't want to participate in the regime that we have for managing, social harmony anymore, then things will happen. Like Thailand had political turmoil. So now next year we're coming back with elections and, working within the system, something like that. So that's why, from our experience, sustainability and inclusiveness is also important, as much as a bigger cake.
Okay. On that note, we'd like to thank you, Ambassador.
You're welcome.
And do hope that you'll talk to SNI
Sure.
again in the near future.
If I don't get fired first.
Thank you.
Thank you.